Hey and welcome back. So in today's video we are going to be working on some photo editing using Lightroom. The photo that I'm going to edit step by step today is going to be this one on the screen right now. I took this photo a couple of months ago using my Sony a7 III and the Sigma 100-400mm lens. The photo that you see on the screen right now is the raw photo straight out of the camera, and I haven't done any editing to the photo as of right now. The first thing that I pretty much always do is I start off with the crop and rotate tool on the right hand side here, and I always straighten the photo out if the photo is crooked, and then I crop the photo down to the size that I want to use. For this photo of this bird, I'm going to crop it down to a 4:5 ratio, which is down here, and this is the most common ratio that people post on Instagram. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to straighten the photo if it needs straightening. So let's say this metal bar is the horizon. What you would do is you would align one of these lines of the square on the object or the horizon, and then you're gonna twist the photo using the straighten tool until the lines are parallel to the horizon. So it would look something like this. So now this photo is straight, but for this photo I don't really need the bar to be straight and there's no horizon, so I'm going to put this back. So I'm just going to crop it down to 4:5 and zoom into the bird. So the bird is in the middle of the photo, and I think I'm going to leave it at this. Once you've cropped the image using the crop tool, next we're going to move to the edit tab, and we're going to start with the lights. So the first thing I'm going to do with this photo is I'm going to increase the exposure to brighten the photo a little, and then I'm going to decrease the highlights a little for this one and up the shadows. And what this shadow tool does is that it brings out the details which are in the shadows if you put it to the right. So what you want to do is you usually want to raise the shadows a little. So I'm going to put the shadow up to about 50 on this one. And then the whites and the blacks is, if you drag the whites to the right, it's going to become really bright. And if you drag it to the left, it's going to become darker. So I'm going to leave this around 0 and up the contrast a little. When you're just getting started with using Lightroom or editing photo softwares, you just want to start playing around with these toggle bars, put it to the left, put it to the right, and see what looks good. And eventually you're going to start to realize what you need to do for each photo as you're editing. Once you've edited using the light tools, the next thing we're going to do is move to the point curve. So this tool is a little more confusing than this one, as it edits different parts of the image. So the top half of the line is where the highlights are, so the brighter parts of the image, and then the bottom half is where the darker parts of the image are. And if I move this top part up, the brighter parts of the image become even brighter, and if I do the opposite, the highlights of the image gets darker. So if you want to add more contrast to the image, you make an S-curve where you increase the highlights a little and you decrease the shadows, creating a S shape. And essentially what this is doing is it's adding contrast to the image by increasing the highlights and decreasing the darkness of the shadows. Another popular way which this point curve is used is to mute the blacks. But what this means is if the blacks on the image is too strong, if it's too dark, what you can do is you can drag the bottom left point up a little bit, and what this does is it fades and makes the blacks a little lighter. So it looks like, if I put it up too much, it's going to look like this, which makes the image look a lot more faded out. But for this picture, I'm just going to leave the blacks right where they were at the start, which is at the bottom left. And now we're moving on to the colors. So here you can adjust the temperature and the tint of the color. When you're editing photos, especially the colors, there's no correct answer. It more depends on your kind of style and also what kind of feeling you want to give off with the photo. Obviously you don't want to edit the colors too much so that it looks unrealistic, but there's a lot you can do. But just changing the colors even a little gives the photo a completely different feeling. So for this photo, I'm going to start by moving the temperatures to the right so it becomes a little warmer in color. And after I've done this, I'm going to edit the colors individually. So I'm going to start with the blues. I want the bird to stand out, so I'm going to increase the saturation of the blues so it's a little more vibrant. And next we are moving to greens. The greens I want to make a little less saturated so the bird stands out, and I'm also going to drop the color to a more yellowish shade. I think I'm happy with how this looks. And next we're going to move to the oranges, and this is going to be the color of the bird's stomach. So we are going to be moving this to a brighter orange tone. And I like how this looks. I'm going to up the saturation a little. Same with the orange here, I'm going to up the saturation a little on the bird. And I like how the colors look. So this is the colors finished. One thing that I did notice while editing the colors is that the bottom half of the bird is a little bit too dark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up to the light and increase the shadows, which is going to make it look brighter on the bottom half. So this was before I edited the shadows right now, and then you're going to move it all the way up so it looks like this. And now moving on to the final touches of the photo, we are going to go down to the detail. We're going to up the noise reduction and the color noise reduction a little, and then we're going to move on to the effects. Here you don't want to fiddle with these too much as they change the picture a lot. So I'm going to start by increasing the clarity up to about 35, I think, for this picture. Then I'm going to up the haze, which is a little bit like increasing the contrast. Brings out the details and the contrast a lot. If you put it too far up to the right, it's going to look unrealistic. So you don't want to use up too much of it. I'm going to put it up to about 35. And then the texture, I'm just going to keep it as it is, I think, for now. And this photo finished almost. I still think the photo is a little bit too dark in general, so I'm going to go back up and increase the blacks. And I think I like how this looks right now. So this is going to be this photo finished. One thing I am going to show you is you can right click and duplicate the photo. And I'm going to actually crop this one into a different size. I think I'm going to zoom into the little more. Like this. And I think even with the different cropping, it gives off a completely different feeling to the photo. So this is without the crop, and this is with it cropped even further in. And I think I like this version more, so this is going to be the final photo for this edit. One more quick tip that I have for Lightroom is that you don't really want to be editing each photo as it's going to take so long. So one thing you can do is you can create a preset with these edits that I just did. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the preset bar up here. You're going to click on the three dots at the top, and you can press create preset, and you can give this a name. So I'm going to just name this bird edit. And what this does is that it saves the edit settings of this photo, so that you can just copy and paste it across onto any other photo. So let's say I go back to the original version of this photo, which is, if you click on the versions and then click on original, you're going to get the original photo here. And now what I'm going to show you is if you click on the presets and then just go back to the bird edit, one which you just created, it's going to give you the edit that we just did. And then I'm just going to crop it down into the size we want. And we get the photo that I just edited. So the good thing about this is that if you have a lot of photos taken from the same sequence, you can just copy and paste the settings all the way across all of them, and it saves you a lot of time. And I think that's going to be about it for this video. Let me know if you have any questions about Lightroom or photo editing in general in the comments if you have any, and please consider liking or subscribing if you found this video helpful. I post most of my photos that I edit onto my Instagram, so please check me out there if you haven't already. And as always, I will see you in the next video.